Before every legend, there's a quiet place, a village forgotten by maps, and a path that was never meant to be taken. This is one of those stories. You're listening to Legends in the Mist. Now, walk with me. I arrived in the village just before sunset. Not because I planned it that way, but because the last bus had broken down miles back, and I had to finish the rest of the road on foot. A long, red dirt path, uneven and cracked from rain. My boots were coated in dust, my throat dry. But the moment I saw the huts through the trees, a strange calm fell over me. It wasn't like other villages I had visited before. There were no children playing, no music, just quiet. A quiet that felt alert, like the trees themselves were listening. The air smelled of smoke and earth, thick vines twisted around crooked poles. A few goats stood frozen, watching me like I didn't belong there. And maybe I didn't. I was the outsider, a stranger, but I wasn't here to cause trouble. I was here to find answers. I should tell you something now. I had been following rumors for weeks. Whispers about a village deep in the north, near the Congo River, where people spoke of a glowing current, a river that shimmered at night, as if it breathed. Some said it was cursed, others blessed. But no one spoke of it openly, and no one had proof, only stories, quiet ones. That's what pulled me in. You see, I'm not a journalist. I'm not a scientist either. I just collect stories, especially the ones that don't want to be told. A woman peeked at me through her window as I passed by. Another man, older, sitting by a woven basket, looked up slowly, then back down. No one said a word. Finally, I reached what looked like a community square, if you could call it that. A fire pit, long cold, wooden seats. A rusted metal bell hung from a tree branch. It swayed gently, even though there was no wind. Then a voice behind me. "You shouldn't be here." I turned. A tall man stood in the shadows of a low hut. His eyes were dark, his face unreadable. He wore a faded green shirt and a scarf tied loosely around his neck. "I'm just passing through," I said, trying to sound relaxed. He didn't smile. People pass through. They don't stop. "I'm looking for the river." A pause. The man tilted his head slightly. The river doesn't like visitors. I should have left. That's what any normal person would have done. But there was something in the way he said it. Not like a warning, more like a dare. So I asked, "Can I stay one night?" He studied me for a long second, then finally nodded. "You sleep in the far hut," he said. "You leave in the morning. No walking after dark." "Why?" He looked past me, into the trees, then turned away. "No one walks after dark." The hut was small but clean, straw roof, a cot with a folded blanket, a clay pot of water by the door, and above the cot, a strange carving, burned into the wood. I couldn't quite make it out at first, but it looked like a spiral, or maybe a ripple, like a drop of water hitting a still pond. As the sun dipped below the trees, the village became even quieter. No fires were lit, no talking. Even the animals went silent. I sat on the edge of the cot, staring at the carving, listening to the silence grow heavier, like a blanket pressing down on my chest. And then I heard it. A soft hum, far off, deep, almost like breathing. It came from the trees. No, from below them. The river. I walked to the small window and looked out. What I saw then is hard to explain. A soft blue glow. Faint, like moonlight through fog. It shimmered, moved, pulsed. It was beautiful, but not natural. No river glows like that. My heartbeat picked up. I should have been afraid, but instead, I felt drawn, as if it was calling me. I opened the door slowly. The night was thick, like walking through oil. I took one step out, then two, and then, don't. The voice came sharp, urgent, right behind me. It was the same man from earlier. You walk now, you don't come back. He looked me dead in the eyes. There was no anger in his voice, just certainty, and something else, fear. I nodded slowly, backed inside, closed the door. He stood outside for a moment. Then he said quietly, "The river chooses, but not tonight." And he walked away. I couldn't sleep that night. The glow stayed, faint and steady, just beyond the trees, like a heartbeat in the earth. I kept thinking, what did he mean? The river chooses. Choose who? For what? And what happens if you follow it? I woke just after midnight. Not from a dream, but from the silence breaking. It started with a distant rhythm, faint, low, like a slow drum beat. Or maybe footsteps in the mud, one at a time, then nothing, then again, closer. I sat up. My heart was already racing, as if my body knew something I didn't. The hut was dark, except for the pale blue light coming through the window. I walked over quietly and peeked outside. The glow was stronger now. The river, if that's what it was, pulsed like it was alive. It didn't flow like water should. It moved, side to side, breathing. And on its edge, just barely visible through the trees, stood a figure. He, or it, was tall, motionless, staring at the water, or maybe standing guard. I couldn't tell. The glowing mist wrapped around his feet, and he didn't move, not once. Something about the way he stood made the hairs on my neck rise. I backed away from the window, but just then, a soft knock on my door. 3 taps, slow, measured, not loud enough to wake anyone, just enough for me. I didn't answer. Then a whisper from the other side of the door. "You shouldn't look." The voice was female, young, shaky. I opened the door just a crack. She stood in the shadows, maybe 16, maybe 18 years old. A scarf covered her hair, and her eyes darted left and right like she was afraid someone had followed her. "You're not from here," she whispered. "You shouldn't have come." "I just want to know what's happening," I replied. She looked behind her again, then stepped inside quickly. Her name was Abani. She had grown up in the village, but left for the city a year ago. Came back when her father got sick. "He never got better," she said. "No one ever does, once they hear the river." She told me stories, ones no one else dared say out loud. That the river wasn't always like this, that the glow started maybe 20 years ago, slowly at first, just a shimmer some nights. Then came the sounds, then the choosing. Every year, one person disappears, always on the same night. She didn't know why. No one does. They just call it the taking. And worse, no one talks about the ones who come back. I leaned in. "Wait, they come back?" She nodded slowly. "Not the same. Not really human. They don't speak, they don't eat, they just watch." She pulled something from her pocket, a small, worn photograph, faded by time. It showed a young man, maybe her brother, smiling, standing by the riverbank in daylight. No glow, no fog. "He disappeared 3 years ago," she said. "I saw him again last month, but it wasn't him. Not anymore. I studied her face. She wasn't making this up. Her hands were trembling. Then she said something that froze me. Tonight is the choosing. Outside, the glow was growing stronger. Abeni looked at me, eyes full of fear. If you go near it, it might choose you. I stood, not sure what to say. But deep down, I wanted to see it for myself. I'm going, I said. She grabbed my arm. Then I'll go too. We stepped into the night together. The air was thick and humming. The trees whispered above us, though there was no wind. Every step closer to the river made the light stronger, not brighter, just deeper, like it was soaking into our skin. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Then the trees opened up, and there it was, the river. It didn't look like water anymore. It moved like it was alive, slow, heavy breaths. The glow wasn't just on the surface, it was in it. Colors shifting, blue, then green, then silver, then black. And on the other side, a figure standing still. Not the man I saw before. This one was different, taller, thinner. Its face, wrong. Like it had been stretched too far, too smooth, like skin over something else. And it was watching us. I took a step back. Abeni reached for my hand. I've seen it before, she whispered. That's what my brother became. Then we heard the sound. A deep hum building beneath our feet, like the earth itself was vibrating. Suddenly, the water shifted. A ripple moved from the far side to ours, and the fog parted, revealing something beneath the surface. Shapes, bodies, dozens of them, floating just below, motionless, eyes open, watching. My knees almost gave out. Abeni pulled me back. We shouldn't be here, she whispered. It's watching. I turned to run, but the fog thickened behind us. We were trapped, surrounded. Then, a voice. Not loud, not close, but inside me. You came to listen. I froze. So listen. The world went silent. And then, I saw something. Not with my eyes, with my mind. Flashes. A village drowning. A creature beneath the river, made of light and bone. A door buried beneath roots, pulsing like a heart. And above it, my face. The vision ended as quickly as it began. I collapsed to the ground, gasping. Abeni knelt beside me. What did you see? I looked at her. My voice was shaking. It showed me something. I think it knows me. The fog thinned slightly. The river glowed dimmer. Abeni pulled me to my feet. We need to leave, now. We ran through the trees, breath sharp in our chests, the hum of the river fading behind us. When we reached the hut, the man was waiting. He didn't speak, just looked at me with knowing eyes, then said, "It doesn't choose often, but when it does, it never forgets." I didn't sleep that night, and in the morning I knew I couldn't leave. Morning came, but the sun never felt warm. It rose behind a wall of fog that refused to leave, a thick silver veil that clung to the trees, to the roofs, to the skin. Even the birds stayed quiet. There was no laughter, no life, only watching. I sat on the edge of my cot, still in the same clothes from the night before. My boots were muddy, my mind heavier than ever. I had come here chasing a story. Now, the story was chasing me. Abeni was waiting outside, near the fire pit. She hadn't slept either. The other villagers moved slowly around us, avoiding eye contact. One woman swept the dirt over and over, even though nothing was there. A child sat staring at a tree. A man carved a wooden mask, but not like any mask I'd ever seen. It had no eyes. I walked over to a Benny. "It showed me something last night," I said quietly. "Images, visions. It knew I was coming." She didn't look surprised, just tired. "It calls to people like you, outsiders, curious ones. That's how it feeds." "Feeds?" She turned to face me. "Not on blood, on memory, on self. It doesn't take your life, it takes your shape." She pulled her scarf tighter. "That's why the ones who return, they look the same, but they aren't." I tried to understand, but the weight of it all was too thick. I needed answers, not riddles. "There must be a reason," I said. "Why here? Why this village? Why now?" She didn't reply. But then, the man from before, the tall one who gave me the hut, walked over. He looked down at me. "You want answers? Come." And he walked into the trees. We followed him in silence. The fog grew thinner as we walked, until we reached the edge of a deep ravine. Inside, a stream cut through black rock, winding toward the main river. He pointed toward a large stone, half buried in moss. "Before the village, there was something else here," he said. "Something older than names. It was found, or maybe awakened. No one knows." He knelt and brushed away the moss from the stone. Symbols were carved into it, spiral lines, intersecting circles, and in the center, a face. But not a human one. Its mouth was open wide, as if screaming or singing. "They say the river was born from this face," he said. "Not the other way around." The earth trembled slightly beneath our feet. Just once. Then stopped. He stood again. "We tried to leave years ago, but something always brings us back. Even those who escape dream of it every night. It pulls them home." "Then why not destroy it?" I asked. He shook his head. "It's not a thing you kill, it's a thing you remember. And the more you remember it, the more real it becomes." He turned to me. "And now you've seen it. It's part of you, like a song you can't forget." That night, I didn't eat, didn't move. The river pulsed just beyond the trees, a steady heartbeat, louder now. And then, the scratching started. Soft at first, like nails across wood. I stepped outside. Nothing. But as I turned to go back in, I saw it, carved across the doorframe of my hut. "Come closer." The words were etched deep, still fresh, not written with a knife, but burned. The edges of the letters glowed faintly, like embers. I backed away slowly. Then I saw something moving in the distance. A figure, walking toward the river. I couldn't see the face, but the way it moved. Stiff, disjointed, almost uncertain. Like it wasn't sure how to be human. I followed. Not because I wanted to, but because something inside me needed to. The forest opened again. The river was brighter than ever, glowing like liquid glass. Fog curled over the surface like breath on a mirror. The figure stood at the edge, still, waiting. And then, it turned. And I saw the face. Mine. Not similar. Not close. Exactly. Same jaw, same eyes, same scar above the lip. It blinked. Once. Slowly. and smiled. Abeni stepped beside me, breath catching in her throat. "It chose you," she whispered. "It's making you." I couldn't move. My legs were locked. Then the thing, the other me, stepped forward and spoke. "You came to find a story," it said in my voice. "Now you are one." The river pulsed harder, the earth shook. The trees bent inward, and all around us, whispers. Thousands of voices overlapping, too many to understand. Above them all, "Do you accept?" Abeni grabbed my arm. "Say no, say it now." But my mouth wouldn't open. "Say it." And then I did. "No." Silence. The river dimmed slightly. The fog retreated. And the thing that wore my face stopped smiling. Then it vanished. Gone, like smoke. And the river returned to stillness. Abeni and I stumbled back through the forest, hearts pounding. Back in the hut, I collapsed. But sleep didn't come, because deep in my mind, a voice whispered, "You already said yes." They say when you hear a voice in your head, it's your conscience, or maybe your fear. But this one, it wasn't mine. I spent the next day trying to act normal. I drank water, sat outside, pretended I hadn't seen my own face staring back at me from the river the night before. But every few minutes, I heard it again. "You already said yes." Whispers, always just beneath the surface of my thoughts, software patient. The river didn't need to rush. It had already planted something inside me. Abeni kept her distance. I don't blame her. She had seen what the river could do, how it twists people from the inside. She only came to me once, late in the afternoon, with a bowl of boiled roots and smoked fish. She didn't say much, just looked at me and whispered, "Don't let it finish the memory." I didn't understand. "What memory?" She shook her head and left, and I was alone again. That night I sat outside, watching the fog roll through the trees. The air was heavy, still, the kind of stillness that holds its breath before something breaks. And then, the bell rang. The metal bell by the fire pit, the one that never moved. It clanged once, then twice, then a third time. People began emerging from their huts, barefoot and silent. Not confused, not panicked, just expecting. Like they'd always known this night was coming. I followed the crowd. No one spoke. No one looked around. We all moved together, like sleepwalkers pulled by the same invisible thread. The trees opened once again. The river waited. But this time, it wasn't glowing. It was black, still, mirror smooth. And standing at the edge was the old man, the same one who brought me to the hut on my first night. He stood barefoot, his eyes closed, arms out. "Tonight, we remember," he said. Everyone repeated softly, "We remember." He stepped forward into the water, one foot, then the other. He walked until it reached his chest, then his neck. Then he was gone. The surface didn't ripple, didn't splash. He just vanished. I turned to Abeni, who had somehow ended up beside me. "Why did he go in?" She looked at me, eyes full of something I couldn't name. It was his turn. Another villager stepped forward. A woman this time, middle-aged, tears on her face. She walked into the river and disappeared the same way, No sound, no struggle, just gone. One by one they went in. 5 in total. And after the last, the river began to glow again. Not blue this time, but red, like the color of memory. The crowd slowly dispersed, silent as before. But I stayed. I couldn't look away. Something was rising from the water, slowly, like a reflection surfacing. It was a shape, a face. Not mine this time. Ebony's. She didn't see it. She was already walking away. But I saw it clearly. Her exact face, eyes closed, mouth slightly open, as if dreaming. Then the voice returned. She remembers. So we do too. I stumbled back to my hut, hands shaking. Inside, my notebook lay open on the cot, even though I hadn't touched it in 2 days. Words had been written on the page, in my handwriting. The first story was not yours. The second you borrowed. The third you lived. The last, you will not survive. The ink was still wet. I slammed the notebook shut. Then I saw something in the mirror. Not my face, my eyes, but wrong. Too wide, too calm. Watching me, not with fear, but hunger. I screamed and turned, but no one was there. And yet, I could feel it now. Something inside me shifting, slowly. Like a memory I hadn't lived was growing roots. I saw things in flashes. A hut burning under moonlight. A boy screaming into a hollow tree. A woman standing in the river, calling a name that didn't exist. And then, I saw myself. Not here, but somewhere else. Telling this story. As if it had already happened. As if it was being remembered by someone else. I ran outside. The river called louder now, not with sound, but with thought. Every tree bent toward it. Every shadow curved like it was being pulled. And in the center of the clearing, the face from the stone, the spiral one, floated just above the surface. It opened its mouth and breathed out a name. Mine. Then, for the first time, I understood. The river didn't choose people at random. It chose stories. Stories with power. Stories with weight. And once told, it kept them, replayed them, lived them over and over, through new mouths, new bodies, new voices. I wasn't here to witness a legend. I was here to become one. The glow pulsed faster, and a beanie appeared behind me, tears in her eyes. "Don't let it end in silence," she said. "Say something true. Say something it can't use." I opened my mouth, but I didn't know what was true anymore. The river surged, a voice thundered from within. "You are memory!" I screamed back. "No, I am me!" The trees cracked, the air spun, and then silence. Darkness. Then light. Then breath. I opened my eyes in the hut. Daylight. No fog. Birds chirping. Normal. Too normal. Ebony stood by the door holding a cup of water. She smiled, but not with her eyes. Ebony handed me the water. I took it, still dizzy, still unsure of where or when I was. The hut looked the same. The bed, the window, the carving above the cot. But something in the air felt wrong. Too clean. Too light. Like the weight of the river had been wiped away, but not forgotten. just waiting. "How long have I been asleep?" I asked. She smiled softly. "Only a few hours." But her voice, it wasn't right. It had a rhythm now, a pattern I had heard before, the voice of the river. I stood up slowly, watching her face. Her eyes were too still, her shoulders too perfect, like she was reading from a script, waiting for my next line. "What's happening?" I asked. "You're free now," she said. "You made your choice. You said no." I took a step back. "Why does it feel like I'm still dreaming?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped aside and pointed to the window. The village outside was wrong. Too symmetrical, too quiet, too perfect. The children were laughing, all at the same time. A goat walked across the path, its steps exactly even. And the river, I could hear it breathing beneath the silence. "This isn't real," I said. "This isn't how it ends." Abeni tilted her head gently. "Then write your ending." And she vanished. Not walked away, not disappeared. Just blinked out of existence like a candle flame in wind. The hut began to tremble. The walls pulsed. The door melted into shadow. And I was falling again. Through memory, through voices, through every version of myself the river had ever imagined. I landed on a wooden floor. Not a hut. A cabin. Somewhere far from Africa. Snow outside, a fireplace inside, a laptop open. My name on the screen. A story half written. I stumbled toward it and read the last line typed. He never escaped. He just became another story. I slammed the lid shut. "No," I whispered. "This ends with me." The cabin faded, and I was back by the river, standing at its edge, alone. No fog, no villagers, no voices. Just me and the black glowing current. The water was still now, perfectly flat, and my reflection looked back at me. Except, it wasn't copying my movement. I blinked. It didn't. I raised my hand. It stared. Then, it smiled. "You see now," it said in my voice. "We are the same." I shook my head. "You're a copy, a shadow." It nodded. "And what is a shadow, if not proof something real is blocking the light?" It stepped forward through the water without ripples. And now it stood inches from me. "You came here to find a story, but you brought one with you. Your guilt, your doubts, your lies. We didn't take you. You offered yourself." I tried to speak, but no words came. Because deep down, I knew it was right. I had always chased other people's mysteries, their trauma, their legends. I had made a life from recording pain. But I had never faced my own. Not until now. The reflection raised its hand. "Take it back," it said. "What?" "The story, your truth. Say it aloud, or remain in memory." The river swirled behind it, glowing brighter, humming louder. Time was breaking, and I had one chance. I looked at the figure, my other self, and said, "I don't know who I am when I'm not chasing someone else's darkness." The figure blinked. The river slowed. "But I want to know. I want to write my own story, not just tell others." The glow flickered. The ground cracked. And the voice returned. Not the reflections, not mine, but the river's. "Then begin." Everything went silent. And then, light. Not from the river, from the sky. For the first time since I arrived, the fog lifted. Real sunlight touched the trees, birds sang. The water turned clear. No glow, no whispers, just water. I was alone again, and this time, truly alone. I walked back to the village, or what remained. Most of the huts were gone. Only rubble, no people, no goats, no sounds. Like it had never existed. Except the bell, still hanging from that same old branch. I rang it once and listened. No answer. But I didn't need one. Not anymore. I walked back down the path, the red dirt soft beneath my feet. Dust rose behind me, and the trees watched in silence. This time, they didn't whisper. They listened. Because this time, the story was mine.